in the Midwest, states like Iowa, Central America, states like that which have continually pushed away from this. I don't know if any of you have been to any of these states. I haven't since this whole thing happened. But a lot of people who are from there have said that they don't have mandates. You could look up for yourself that there aren't a lot of mandates. Now they're making the push to go after these people in states like Iowa. We've seen them do it in Texas already. What they do is they come out and they tell you that statistics show that, oh, these people, the ones who decided to not wear the mask and make it mandatory and pushed back, these are the states now with the highest numbers. So suddenly Iowa now has the highest rate of cases in the U.S. And how convenient, the headline says, the White House task force report warns of dire new case increases across rural and urban areas of the state and calls for mask mandate. Well, of course they will, because it's going to be mandated in every state. In states where it's already been mandated, trust me, it's normal now for people. They're used to doing it. They don't mind doing it. That's how sick this is. Me personally, I'm not going anywhere that requires it. I'm doing my best not to. I know you can say, well, Carl, how do you go to the grocery store if they try to throw you out? Well, you order it online, or you get someone to pick it up for you, or maybe you just, I don't know, say, all right, arrest me and see what actually happens. Maybe they won't take your order at the checkout. I don't know. I haven't read too many stories about people who have refused, but what I've seen and read is that people who actually go into these stores and refuse to wear the mask are actually being more attacked, not just by store employees saying you need a mask, and then they go, I don't care. Actual customers, because they're so indoctrinated with this poison they're seeing on the news, customers going up to them saying, where's your mask? Why don't you have your mask on? That's how ridiculous this has got, but that's how mind control and social engineering works. Now, here's the next thing that's going to come. And this has nothing to do with your take on whether people, Christians who listen to channel, whether you should drink or not, and anything like that. This is about your rights and freedoms as a citizen, because remember, they're taking away our rights. They're stripping our rights. And that's why people who are anti-gun should be pro, because they should be pro the people being able to arm themselves against this tyranny that exists as a government that is completely attacking its own citizens in a silent warfare, which has been going on for a long time, but now more than ever. They are talking more and more. I don't know if you've heard in the media, but even CNN just did an article about it, about possible prohibition in America, which means no cigarettes, no liquor. Now, I know people will be like, no, that's a great thing. That's a great thing. But what it is just more imprisonment of citizens. And the more they take away our rights, the less rights we have. And then and time goes by, people just get used to it. That's what you've seen with the masks. That is why this is such a problem. I've heard gyms are opened up now. Oh, gyms are back open, but you wear a mask in the gym. Wear a mask in the gym? You guys gonna have a stroke in the gym? Good luck on the treadmill wearing a mask. But people are like, well, you have to. It's normal now. It's normal. It's normal. It's normal. Well, the same thing will happen with things like prohibition and the other things. Rights, removed. Self-imprisonment, 1984. So what they're doing is they're using stories from South Africa, which is one of the world's strictest C-19 lockdowns, or has one of the strictest ones, where they pretend like here, they're acting like, oh, it's not so strict in America because of Trump, and that's why they can't get rid of it. It's all prop. We all know it's propaganda. That's all that it is. And they're saying, as the threat of the pandemic loomed in March, the government in South Africa sealed national borders, restricted public transport. In a particularly controversial move, they banned the sale of alcohol as well. So these are the types of restrictions you could expect here. Restriction on public transport, sealing national borders. How about sealing state borders? Because that's going to come. They're already making you quarantine when you enter certain states from state to state. So what would the next logical step be? It would be to shut down the borders of the state from any outside people. That's exactly what's going to come. This turns into a military state, a police state. Right? But just without the police, because sooner or later the police will be gone and the military will be in, even though it's all one and the same head of the snake. So the government believes that the drinking restrictions significantly reduced pressure on the country's hospitals and hailed the result of the policy a success. They're saying temporary drinking restrictions are back in vogue worldwide thanks to the virus. Social distancing has also dramatically altered people's drinking consumption habits, though researchers believe it's too early to say whether the impact will be permanent. Of course, because they have to ease everyone in. So they mentioned the other countries, Thailand and India. They had similar bans earlier in the year. Some had the bans and released the bans. But the whole point is that they're releasing this type of news to say, oh, look, the hospitals were less empty. There weren't people in the hospitals because there weren't all these things that go on with alcohol-related events, right? So they say, it is vital that we do not burden our clinics and hospitals with alcohol-related injuries that could have been avoided, because we need all the doctors and nurses to be able to help all of these people that nobody knows or has seen who actually have this, right? And again, this isn't about your take on, well, that's great because I don't drink and it's not great. That's totally different than looking at it from the perspective of your rights and imprisonment. Because the more things that get removed, the more normal it becomes for them to take things away that are normal in people's lives. And the more time that goes by, it just turns into a normal lifestyle. Think of what it's going to be like 20 years from now, right? And if any of us are still here, which most of us probably won't be, you tell somebody who's 15, 20 years old then, or in 20 years from now, or 30 years from now, whatever. Point being, you tell them what life was like in the 90s and the 80s and 2000s. They won't even believe it. Because they're going to be used to growing up in this imprisoned society where they still think they're free. Because remember, they have to keep the illusion of a republic. That's why the voting and stuff, they continue to shove down your throat. Because people always message me and they go, well, if you don't believe that it's real, Trump, you think we're all in and on together, why do they emphasize voting so much? Because they want you to believe that it's a republic, that it's not controlled. Because otherwise, if you don't believe it's a republic, suddenly you see this tyranny going on. I always mispronounce it. You see all this going on, the people do uprise and go against this because they don't want to be imprisoned. So they tell you they're doing it in your best interest. You select who the president is via your vote. It counts. You have the choice to go to a grocery store and pick between A, B, or C type soda or water or milk or anything else. That is all how this entire process works. They're talking about people in South Africa. One of the most poignant things that they've seen is a significant reduction in hospital admissions. And all this is coming because the ban has pretty much, like I said, this is exactly what they're trying to use to manipulate people's head. This quote is pretty much it. The ban definitely had a major impact. There was a dramatic reduction in alcohol-related trauma admissions to hospitals that would have included alcohol-based violence, domestic violence, and car accidents, and then they say, and so on, because of the dangers involved with alcohol. That is how this is going to continue to work. These are the things that are going to continue to happen. The article goes on to say, crackdown on social drinking. Governments and local officials have justified such restrictions they want humans separated from one another. They want humans to become one with technology. This is the mark of the beast. This is happening right now. This isn't a conspiracy anymore. You can see it. That's why it's funny, and you keep hearing people go, oh, these crazy conspiracy nuts, oh, these crazy Christians, because they don't believe in the mark of the beast. And they've been desensitized to this stuff because they've seen all these ridiculous movies with man and machine becoming one, men dating robots. People, their phones becoming their best friend, and they're talking to your Alexa like it's a human being, all right? So this thing is just going to keep going in phases upward as we head towards the election. There's people who are actually so naive, they think that all this is going to end after the election because this is just an attack on Trump. So when the election comes, it's going to stop. The only way it would stop is if people push back. No one in this country is pushing back, and that's why it's not going to stop. Citizens are doing what the government wants. They're becoming their own little, militia groups, wearing masks, attacking people who don't wear masks. We've seen all the videos of people in grocery stores with no mask, and then a bunch of people yell at them and scream at them, right? This is what the propaganda has done to these people. They are completely 100% under mind control. They are not thinking with free will. They do not have independent thought. And that's a fact, and it's easy to see because they don't question this stuff, right? You still don't see anybody around you with it. You haven't gotten it. But you only hear stories, oh, I know so-and-so, a cousin.
Dad, what's wrong with the telly?
Good evening, London. Allow me first to apologize for this
Emergency channel!
I do, like many of you, appreciate the comforts of the everyday routine, the security of the familiar, the tranquility of repetition.
Bloody hell.
I enjoy them as much as any bloke. But in the spirit of commemoration,
Who's that, Mum?
whereby those important events of the past, usually associated with someone's death or the end of some awful bloody struggle, are celebrated with a nice holiday, I thought we could mark this November the 5th, a day that is sadly no longer remembered, by taking some time out of our daily lives to sit down and have a little chat. There are, of course, those who do not want us to speak.
Let me think, just let me
I
think.
suspect even now, orders are being shouted into telephones, and men with guns will soon be on their way.
It's Chancellor Sutler.
Damn it!
Why? Because while the truncheon may be used in lieu of conversation, words will always retain their power. Words offer the means to meaning, and for those who will listen, the enunciation of truth. And the truth is, there is something terribly wrong with this country, isn't there?
You designed it, sir. You wanted it foolproof. You told me every television in London.
Cruelty and injustice, intolerance and oppression. And where once you had the freedom to object, to think and speak as you saw fit, you now have censors and systems of surveillance coercing your conformity and soliciting your submission.
We need cameras.
How did this happen? Who's to blame? Well, certainly there are those who are more responsible than others, and they will be held accountable. But again, truth be told, if you're looking for the guilty, you need only look into a mirror. I know why you did it. I know you were afraid. Who wouldn't be? War, terror, disease. There were a myriad of problems which conspired to corrupt your reason and rob you of your common sense. Fear got the best of you, and in your panic you turned to the now High Chancellor Adam Sutler. He promised you order, he promised you peace, and all he demanded in return was your silent, obedient consent.
Inspector, you're almost through.
Last night, I sought to end that silence. Last night, I destroyed the Old Bailey to remind this country of what it has forgotten. More than 400 years ago, a great citizen wished to embed the 5th of November forever in our memory. His hope was to remind the world that fairness, justice, and freedom are more than words. They are perspectives. So if you've seen nothing, if the crimes of this government remain unknown to you, then I would suggest that you allow the 5th of November to pass unmarked. But if you see what I see, if you feel as I feel, and if you would seek as I seek, then I ask you to stand beside me 1 year from tonight, outside the gates of Parliament, and together we shall give them a 5th of November that shall never, ever be forgotten.